Hey, I want to have a conversation. So, I've been working on creating this program, Our Own Lane, for since the end of February, March, all of March, April, and now we're at the end of May. And one of the things that I have been working to improve has been my content on my YouTube channel. Before I was talking about aging and I was talking about myself as a person. And now that I have this business idea, I want you to get to know who I am and some of the ways that my experience might help you as a Black professional working in private schools, might need a mentor to walk alongside you. So yesterday was Memorial Day, and as I learned more about YouTube and that, they tell you, well, don't put the date on your video, because if you tell people, then your video could go out of style. I am most interested in this video, in these videos representing my authentic voice. So I've tried to write scripts and talk about things that write the script so that I can stay on track, so that my conversation won't wander too far off. So today, and then I've gone back and looked at the videos, and I'm like, but you're reading the scripts, you're looking at the scripts too much. So we're going to keep trying, and hope you'll rock with me. Yesterday, one thing that I noticed, because I don't have a full-time job, the calendar doesn't mean as much to me as it used to, right? When I was working, and in my profession was working in schools. But then I thought, oh, it's Memorial Day. Okay, remember those who have passed on, who gave their lives for the country, etc. Similar to Veterans Day. And thought back to the way it was when I was a child. When I was a child, Memorial Day really was kind of like the beginning of summertime, right? Someone said to me yesterday, yeah, you can wear white, right? You can wear white between Memorial Day and Labor Day. It's official. It's summertime. It was cloudy here, but also the mail used to not run on holidays, national holidays specifically. But when my gym was open, I belonged to the Y. My gym was open, and when I got home, the mail truck was sitting outside my house, because I've got one of those big neighborhood boxes that sits on the corner where I live. So I was like, oh, they're delivering mail today. I don't know if the banks were open, but I know the mail was run. And on Monday is my trash day. Trash men came to pick up the trash. Interesting. And then I was talking to a friend of mine who lives in another state, and they told me, oh, I saw that you mentioned that you were going to the gym. So I went. They belong to the Y as well, and discovered that their Y was closed yesterday. And that got me to thinking, as I'm constantly thinking about metaphors and the ways that I can think about things that come to my mind or happened in my life and apply them to life in private schools. So thought, my YMCA here in Virginia versus the YMCA in New Jersey having different rules felt very similar to what you would experience if you're working in private schools. It's the same industry, if you will, private schools. But I know when I worked in boarding schools, we didn't have holidays off. Basically, we did not recognize, like day schools, private day schools would acknowledge the national holidays, right? In boarding schools, it's a little different. Remember, we would start school, say you would start school at the end of August and not even recognize Labor Day weekend. Labor Day weekend would be like onboarding. Everybody, all hands on deck, and I'm standing around going like, wait, I thought Labor Day was a holiday and that we would have the day off. No. So it helped, it reminded me that these schools have a different kind of culture depending on the type of school that you're in. And if you're not aware of that, you may walk in, as I said, having made plans with your family, oh, we're going to be out at the park on Labor Day weekend, and you come in and they're like, but the kids will be moving in that weekend. You got to be here to greet the families. So I'm saying all that because the whole point of me building our own lane is for me to help you have kind of an insider's view, a place where you can stumble and trip over some things and unpack them and be like, wait, is this unfair? Is this wrong? Or is this normal? Right? I'm going to tell you, as someone who is a glass half full type person, I'm always going to look at the brighter side of things, not in a toxic positivity way, but in a way that I hope will keep you in a positive state of mind, that we will regulate your nervous system so that everything is not an emergency and a crisis. Okay? So I'm thinking back to some of the schools that I've worked in over my 25 years of working in schools. And again, why would you start a community called Our Own Lane? Okay? Because, as I said, I want to be your mentor. I want to help you, and I want you to sign up and join our membership. So the first step to getting into the membership, we have a on-ramp level that's absolutely free. Come on in, take a look around. I'm building it. I'm learning this new app called School that I keep talking about. And if you go to ourownlanecommunity.com, you can register to come into the on-ramp if you are a Black professional who works in private schools. Okay? And talk about the real cost. What is the cost of not knowing? My friend, he went to the YMCA yesterday and he drove all the way over there, and with gas prices this high, he might have saved himself a couple dollars, right? If he had known that his YMCA in New Jersey was not going to be open yesterday. I don't know if he wasn't paying attention to the postings or whatever, and I don't know if the YMCAs are run like independent franchises. Like every McDonald's is different, and every Home Depot or Lowe's is a different, but I thought they had some commonality. And that's the thing that I think about when I think about these schools, right? Learning what kind of traditions are common. I'm watching one of the schools that I used to work at the end of the year, when they have a long-standing professional retire. There's a kind of they line all the students and all the adults line up and give high fives to that person to wish them well in their retirement. If you don't know that particular ceremony is happening, I just was watching a video on Instagram of this thing happening, and I saw some people, as the educator was leaving, had gotten to the end of the line. I saw some people running up to the line. I was like, They didn't have anybody. They didn't have a mentor telling them, we're going to line up at 12:15, and so maybe they showed up at 12:45 and they missed saying goodbye to their friend. So not knowing how the rules are I remember one time, gosh, what was this? It was some sort of event at a school I was working at, and I was on the senior leadership team, but I was new. It was my first year, and I didn't know where I knew that there was an evening event happening, but I didn't know where said event was happening. And I didn't have a mentor or a sponsor or anybody. And people just were treating me like, well, you're on the senior admin team. Of course, you already know where things are. And I didn't. And I remember that feeling. And again, I'd like to help you work through that. So what can you do? Before you take the position, you can ask questions that aren't necessarily on the interview list. I know we've gotten really good about prepping for our interviews, right? You can talk to the people who worked there before, and especially people who look like you, and ask them kind of some of the unwritten, unspoken rules that you might feel embarrassed to ask because people are assuming that you would know. If you, in my case, you've made it to this position, you should know everything. I barely knew where the ladies' room was, right? Once you're in, find your people. Find them fast. Not just your allies, but your people. The ones who know the rules of that particular institution. And then I've said before, build your outside community. And again, that's why our own lane exists, because it will be your outside community. Because we're going to have people, I already have now, as of May 26th, I've got 29 people signed up for the free on-ramp in our own lane. So once I get them all in school and we all start talking, then that'll be a place where you could just ask simple questions, right? Now, if you get into the accelerator lane or you get into the pace setter lane, those are going to be more exclusive, and it's going to be like a cohort and not so much a free-for-all. But right now, the on-ramp is where we're starting. Okay? So that's pretty much what I have to say today for this video. Like I said, I am learning more about Facebook. I'm posting more, not Facebook. I'm learning more about YouTube. I know pretty much about Facebook. I've been on Facebook for 20 years. Got on there because I wanted to stay in touch with my students as they were graduating. Not my current students. I wasn't friends with any of my students at any of the schools that I was working at while I was working there. Another point, another story I wanted to share has to do with one time I did a project where I asked my colleagues about, the Tale of Two Cities. And this was right around, I wanted to know. I had gotten into a school environment and I had learned, I could see the difference, right? Between whether sometimes it's the faculty and staff that's different. Sometimes it's just the parents against the institution itself. And so I wanted to collect stories about how those differences impacted the institution. And those things that can be very helpful to learn, and it can be can appear to be controversial, if you will. And that's what I ran into, that folks thought that by looking at or naming out loud that there were two multiple environments or multiple ways of thinking about things that were happening, that it could divide the community, which was not my goal. My goal has always and will always be to act and try to be as inclusive as possible. I've never walked into a space, and people sometimes they wonder about me, because if I see someone standing by themselves, I'm going to go and try to interact with them. right? I want them to feel like somebody sees them. And in this community that I'm developing for Black professionals who work in private schools, my goal will be that you will feel seen, that you will feel seen, that you will be heard, and that you will feel like you belong. Okay? All right. That's my video for this week. The tale of two YMCAs. Why did one in Virginia act one way and the other one in New Jersey? It's nothing to do with YMCAs, but just the differences between private schools. They're all independent entities, right? They may belong to the National Association of Independent Schools, but they have independent in their name for a reason, because they are going to do things their way. And let's try to figure out what things they're doing so that you can be successful, so that you can thrive in your environment. All right, take care.